Clint Eastwood had always been a man of few words, but great presence. His appearance on The View was both rare and surprising. Known for his quiet intensity and no-nonsense approach, he wasn't exactly a regular on talk shows. Yet with his latest film, a gritty, introspective drama about post-war American values, stirring both praise and controversy, his team had nudged him toward a broader audience. He finally agreed, albeit reluctantly. "Just don't try to make me smile for the camera," he'd grumbled to his publicist that morning. Asterisk as he stepped onto the brightly lit set of The View. Applause thundered through the room. The crowd, largely composed of daytime TV regulars, was instantly drawn to his legendary aura. Wearing a simple button-down shirt, dark jeans, and his signature boots, Clint walked in like he was entering a saloon in one of his old westerns. He tipped his head slightly toward the co-hosts Joy Behar, Sunny Hostin, Sarah N., and of course, Whoopi Goldberg, then eased himself into his seat at the round table. Asterisk things started off cordial. Joy asked about the inspiration behind the movie, and Clint spoke quietly but confidently about how he wanted to explore the cost of silence, honor, and doing the right thing in a world where moral lines had blurred. He talked about the lead character, a disillusioned veteran who finds himself standing up for something bigger than himself. The studio audience nodded along, clearly captivated. Then Whoopi Goldberg took the lead. "Clint," she said smoothly, "the film's beautifully shot, no doubt, but I have to ask, do you think the way the protagonist is portrayed might be seen as glorifying a kind of nationalism that excludes people? That makes certain Americans feel like outsiders?" Asterisk Eastwood paused. There was no smirk, no frown, just that steely gaze he was famous for. He turned slightly toward Whoopi and answered in a slow, measured tone. Asterisk no, ma'am. I think it's about reminding people of what used to hold this country together, not what's tearing it apart. It's not about division, it's about resolve. Asterisk a few in the audience clapped. Others looked to Whoopi, sensing the tension already thickening. Asterisk she nodded, lips pursed. But the resolve you're talking about, does it leave room for the changes this country's gone through? For new voices, new definitions of what it means to be American? Eastwood's fingers tapped once on the table. We used to call it strength. Now people want to call it outdated. Maybe the problem isn't the message. Maybe it's how soft we've gotten that hit the nerve. The room tensed and even the camera crew instinctively leaned forward. Joy shot a glance across the table. Sunny shifted in her chair. Whoopi held her ground. Asterisk you saying, people who challenge the old system are soft. Asterisk I'm saying, Eastwood said, his voice a notch firmer now. That standing for something, even when it's uncomfortable, used to be a virtue. Now everyone wants to talk about their feelings instead. The silence that followed wasn't just dramatic, it was sharp. Whoopi's expression darkened. Let me be real clear. You're a legend, Clint, no doubt. But if you think people speaking up about injustice is being soft, then maybe you're missing the point. Asterisk the crowd gave a mix of gasps and scattered applause. Clint gave a slight smile. Or maybe you're missing what made this country work in the first place. Asterisk Joy tried to break the rising tension. Okay, let's bring it back to the movie. Asterisk, but it was too late. The atmosphere was shifting from an interview to a standoff. Asterisk, I didn't come here to get preached at, Clint said, looking straight at Whoopi. I came to talk about a film. You want to turn it into a political lecture? That's on you. Asterisk, Whoopi stood up. And I didn't come here to be told I'm what's wrong with America? Asterisk Eastwood slowly stood as well, pushing his chair back with the faint screech of wood on stage floor. His voice was low, controlled. Then maybe we're both in the wrong place. Asterisk the producers scrambled behind the scenes. Someone gestured frantically at the stage manager to cut to commercial. But just before the camera faded out, Clint Eastwood tipped his head once more to the audience. Not the co-hosts then turned and walked off the set, leaving a stunned silence in his wake. Asterisk it was the kind of moment daytime TV hadn't seen in years, one that was about to explode beyond the walls of the studio. Asterisk by the time Clint Eastwood's boots hit the backstage floor and the cameras cut to commercial, the internet was already boiling. Audience members had recorded clips on their phones. Staffers leaked behind-the-scenes whispers. In a matter of minutes, hashtags like hashtag Eastwood storms out, hashtag Whoopi vs. Clint, and hashtag The View blow up were trending across platforms. For many, it felt like a cultural earthquake, a flashpoint between two titans, not just of Hollywood, but of two very different Americas. Asterisk backstage. Eastwood's demeanor remained icy calm. A producer caught up to him near the dressing rooms. Asterisk, Mr. Eastwood. We're hoping maybe you'd consider returning for the second segment. We can shift the tone, smooth things out. Asterisk Clint looked at the young man like he'd just asked him to ride a horse backwards through a shopping mall? Asterisk, I said what I came to say, he replied. You want a soundbite? You got it. But I'm not walking back into that room just to make everyone feel better. Asterisk, meanwhile, on set the mood was far from calm. Whoopi Goldberg had sat back down, visibly fuming but composed. The other co-hosts scrambled to recalibrate. Joy Behar, ever the pragmatist, tried to steer the next segment toward a lighter topic. Sonny Hostin, though, leaned in with a hushed comment to Whoopi. You okay? Asterisk Whoopi nodded. I'm fine, but I'm tired of being told that standing up for people is weakness. He wants to talk about American values, then let's talk about all Americans. Asterisk, after the show, statements were drafted at record speed. Publicist released a brief note to the press. Clint Eastwood regrets that the conversation on The View became more confrontational than expected. He stands by his film and the values it portrays. Asterisk ABC, on the other hand, issued a diplomatic line. The View is a space for open, challenging conversations. We thank Mr. Eastwood for joining us and hope viewers appreciate the spirit of passionate discussion. But the real fire was online. Clint's longtime fans praised him for standing his ground. Eastwood tells it like it is. One viral post read, "That's a real man." Conservative commentators hailed him as a symbol of unwavering tradition, while memes circulated of him walking off with captions like, "When cancel culture tries you, but you're Clint Eastwood." Asterisk, meanwhile, supporters of Whoopi rallied behind her. She stood up for people who've been left out of the conversation for too long. One fan tweeted, "No one talks down to Whoopi and gets away with it." Clips of her calmly confronting Eastwood were shared with hashtags like hashtag Whoopi the Voice and hashtag not backing down. Asterisk, the clash turned into a full-on culture war. Asterisk, cable news ran the clip on repeat. One commentator on a primetime panel called it the most revealing 10 minutes of daytime television in a decade. Another said, this wasn't about a movie. This was about America's identity crisis. Asterisk, amid the uproar, film, which had been tracking modestly at the box office, saw a sudden surge in interest. Advanced ticket sales spiked by 40% in just 2 days. Streaming platforms that had licensed the film reported increased pre-orders and queue additions. Asterisk. One entertainment analyst noted, Clint may not have liked how it happened, but that walk-off was the best promotion he could have asked for. Asterisk, interestingly, The View also enjoyed a ratings boon. Clips of the episode pulled in millions of views on YouTube, and the next day's broadcast opened with Joy Behar half-joking. Well, yesterday was quiet, wasn't it? Asterisk Whoopi addressed the incident directly. With her usual candor, look, Clint Eastwood is a legend. I grew up watching him. I admire his work. But when I feel something needs to be said, I say it. That's what this table is for. We don't always agree, and thank God for that. Asterisk, she didn't apologize. Neither did he. Asterisk, but perhaps what resonated most was the silence that followed. A few days after the event, Eastwood appeared on a quiet radio show in Texas. The host asked him, without fanfare, whether he regretted what happened. Clint chuckled dryly. You know, I've walked away from gunfights in movies, and I've walked away from conversations in real life. That wasn't a gunfight. That was a difference of opinion. The world just isn't used to seeing grown folks have one anymore. Asterisk, and just like that, he ended the conversation not with a bang, but with the dusty, resolute calm he was known. For Asterisk, though, the dust would eventually settle. The clash between Clint Eastwood and Whoopi Goldberg became something bigger than a TV segment. It was replayed, rehashed, debated in classrooms and barbershops alike. Some saw it as proof that American discourse had become too fragile. Others saw it as evidence that voices demanding change could no longer be ignored. Asterisk, either way, it was clear two icons had met under the studio lights, said their piece, and walked away unchanged, leaving the rest of the country to argue about who was right. Asterisk,